Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action. We're here with the Tomb Kings versus the Lizardmen. Yal and Nala are going to be taking on Falcon here in a community cast. So, let's get straight to the builds. For the Tomb Kings here, we've got Cetra the Imperishable on his chariot. A bit of an interesting pick against the Lizardmen, you would think, but I actually like it quite a bit because of that 100 charge bonus and heavy AP. He actually can do decently against single entities if he charges them directly. Also very good against Lizardmen infantry. SPHINX of USEKPH, I think you're going to see this guy coming back into vogue a bit for the Tomb Kings. You haven't been for a while, but the reason being is that he does have fire resistance, and in a number of matchups, both Lizardmen and Empire especially, you're going to be facing potential fire damage, so I like that pick quite a bit. We've got a couple of Ushabti Greatbows here, the Kepler Guard in the front line. These guys got a serious buff to their melee stats and got anti-infantry in the last patch, so they are much better now. They were one of the worst regiments renowned in the game, in my opinion, before, but now much better. Skeleton Warriors, and we've got some Tomb Guard with halberds to the flanks. For the Lizardmen, we've got a Feral Carnosaur, huge fan of them, very cost effective. Cohort of Sotek, main line of Saurus here. We're going to have 5 Saurus Warriors with shields. We've got Razordawn Hunting Pack, 2 of them, as well as the Regiment of Renown Umbral Tide, the Salamanders. And yeah, looks like just some additional skinks out to the flanks, so relatively straightforward build. Gore-Rok going to be leading the way for the Lizardmen, and a beautiful Wind Blast just rips apart that Kepler Guard. That's great value there from that Skink Priest. And yeah, the Umbral Tide going to be shooting in at the Ushabti. Obviously, it's much better for them to go after the Ushabti rather than the SPHINX of USEKPH, of course, because of that fire resistance, but the Razordons here are going to be sort of used in an anti-large role. The the Carnosaur comes over, gets a few good hits on Cetra. Cetra's going to use his Sunblast there to try and bail himself out, but yeah, you can see that when the Umbral Tides start to shoot there at the SPHINX of USEKPH, they're going to do very little damage. Also, you can see both Ushabti Greatbows are focusing on the Umbral Tide as well, so they're going to be seen off the battlefield relatively soon, but let's see how these Razordons do in sort of an anti-large role. They do some decent damage there. The DPS isn't amazing. It's significantly lower than any other armor-piercing missile cav, which is ultimately what they are at the end of the day. But I mean, like, you compare them to, like, Outriders or Dark Riders with crossbows, and the DPS is still significantly lower, but it is doing some damage, especially considering the physical resistance and the restore and everything there. You know, maybe over some time they can get some work done if he's able to protect, but this is a great situation. Cohort of Sotek in the back line with their poison and armor piercing are going to get on these Ushabti Greatbows. This is an ideal scenario, because you can see the Ushabti's speed is debuffed down to 42. These Red Crests have 46 speed, so theoretically they can catch up here, but this is a very good play, trying to screen them out through the Temple Guard. Granted, there are Skink Cohort on the other side, so it's not great. Summon Manticore also drops down to tie up those Ushabti Greatbows, so very good work so far from both the Skink Priests, both Lord of Beasts and Lord of Heavens on the field here. Gore-Rok himself just ripped apart those Kepler Guard. They are pretty much done for. And here comes the SPHINX of USEKPH. The SPHINX is going to have to be careful, because if Gore-Rok turns, he is a scary melee combatant. One of the best infantry characters in the game, if not the best right now. There's maybe some arguments to be made for a couple of others, like Skarsnik, or, you know, even Sigvald has his merits, but Gore-Rok, in terms of his melee output, is one of the strongest. And the fact that he has 60 melee defense, just great armor piercing, 100 armor, great missile block chance. Does look like he's got the Mace of Olmec as well, or is that just the Shield of the Eons? Let's see here. Just the Shield of the Eons, so no Mace of Olmec to juice himself up, but we'll see. SPHINX of USEKPH getting pretty low here. You can see the Razordons kind of kiting it around. This is actually a pretty good situation, and again, despite the physical resistance, they are able to do a little bit of DPS there on that volley, so you can kind of see Razordons are somewhat fixed. I still think that they need a little bit more missile damage or longer range or just something to set them apart, but they are going to be able to do a bit here. You can see that unit has managed to pick up an XP chevron just from shooting at the big boy here, so that's pretty decent. Tomb King's infantry mostly getting ground down at this point with the loss of the Kepler Guard. Their infantry is far inferior to what the Lizardmen have here. There's just way too many swords for them to deal with. Granted, these Tomb Guard are doing a decent job here, despite being fully surrounded on all sides by these Saurus here. You can see another wave of Saurus incoming, with the SPHINX of USEKPH also making his way up towards the top of the hill here. Cetra as well getting in here. A beautiful explosion nets him quite a few kills there, and on the chariot he is able to do quite a bit of anti-infantry damage, getting close to 100 kills there. Keep in mind, though, anytime he gets close to Gore-Rok, Gore-Rok can bop him on the back of the head with that mace, and he will do an obscene amount of damage. Yeah, looks like Cetra's going to be going after those Lizardmen hunting packs. We've got a couple more coming back from route, so they can kind of start to kite and fight a little bit here. The Saurus are in a little bit of a rough situation, but they are starting to cut through these Tomb Guard over time, and very nicely done. The Manticore drops down, gets a good hit on Cetra there. Keep in mind, though, when Cetra has that Blessed Blade of Petra active and he's on the Chariot, because he can run through different units, that Blessed Blade of Petra is going to apply to a lot of different units here, and you can see. Again, I talk about that blinded melee debuff and how powerful it is on a regular basis. That it's just a, that standard minus 26, 27, but still having that bound on hit, you can see that did significantly debuff Gore-Rok's stats there for quite a while. So just such a strong ability, to be honest. And I would pretty much always recommend, if you have Cetra, bringing that Blessed Blade. So you can see here things are still very even well into the late game. The Lizardmen hunting packs are taking some volleys from the USEKPH Greatbows, who have been able to stay online despite everything. Cohort of Sotek are still continuing to pursue, but these Tomb Guard have been able to protect somewhat. Another Salmon Manticore coming down, trying to go after Cetra, it looks like, or this is the first one? Yeah, it looks like the first one because of the debuff timer, but anyway. The Feral Carnosaur does come back from route. He's very, very low at this point. The USEKPH are probably going to try and focus him down, but some beautiful focus fire here from the Lizardmen hunting pack. The SPHINX, though, does get a hold of that Summoned Manticore, just going to beat the brakes off of him, no question. So, yeah, we'll see. The Lizardmen's trying to go after the USEKPH Greatbows a little bit here, actually doing some decent damage. And again, the Cohort of Sotek are an ideal pursuit unit for these USEKPH because of that poison, because of their fast speed. They're, of course, unbreakable, and being a Regiment of Renown, have really nice melee stats as well. So they will be able to take down those USEKPH. And yep, they get a hit in there for the poison. And it should be the end. We'll see. Those USEKPH are going to continue to try and pull away. And granted, there's not a whole lot of Cohort of Sotek left at this point, so they might not be able to do a ton. But here you can see the SPHINX of USEK is able to get, with the Enrage there from the bow shots, is able to get a hold of those Lizardmen hunting packs. Still going to take a few volleys, though, from this other one on the side here as he tries to turn and fight there. But yeah, we'll see. These Salamanders did come back from route as well, the Umbral Tide, but oh man, that Enrage just forcing them into the SPHINX where they then get terror-routed. It's really rough. You can see the Cohort of Sotek continuing to pursue those USEKPH and whittling them down over time, but will it be enough? You can see the Lizardmen making a bit of a push here as the balance of power still very even, if slightly in the Tomb King's favor. Cetra scooting away on his chariot from the Carnosaur, which only has about 500 HP left, but now the USEKPH Greatbows going to have an opportunity to turn and probably finish this guy off here. Won't take too many shots to do him in there. You can see the USEKPH Greatbows getting attacked from behind by the Cohort of Sotek, still able to get effective fire and finish off that Carnosaur. So, meanwhile, the Lizardmen just wrapping up the last of some Tomb King's units here. These Tomb Guard are pretty much done for, so, yeah, it's going to be a very, very tight finish here. The Umbral Tide are also back from route. These Lizardmen hunting packs are going to try and come back, but the USEKPH Greatbows obviously just have such superior range. And it's kind of interesting, USEKPH Greatbows are not that much more expensive than Lizardmens and Salamanders, and they are just, I mean, obviously they're better in every way. So, I don't know. I honestly think that, I've talked about what they could do to fix Lizardmens. I think Salamanders are honestly in a pretty decent place, but Lizardmens, I think if they were to give them longer range and like a very small, like even a +1 or +2 bonus versus infantry on their missile attacks, it would help kind of differentiate them from Salamanders a little bit, but we'll see. At this point, the SPHINX of USEK is going to get attacked in the rear here, and just all these Lizardmen infantry starting to get a little bit sort of separated here, which is fairly dangerous. If the units get isolated, obviously they can get terrified away by the SPHINX of USEK here, and Gore-Rok really needs to be standing with his infantry so that he can get hits in on the SPHINX, but over here you can see the SPHINX just pushing through, obviously faster than Gore-Rok, able to sort of outmaneuver him there because of that line of pursuit that he took. And you can see Cetra comes over here to start routing away some of these units. We do get a wind blast, a desperate wind blast on those USEKPH. Not going to do much, but yeah. Man, Cetra, only 500 HP left, still alive into this late game, though, despite the Lizardmen's best efforts. Gets a nice little bop on the skink there, then going to turn around and get another charge here. Probably rout off those Lizardmens. Gives himself some physical resistance just to make sure he doesn't get canned here. And, yep, with a nice swipe attack there. And that attack animation, actually, that side swipe, does decent damage, of course, because of that heavy AP and anti-infantry. SPHINX comes through, and Ushabti Greatbows, 1 unit still on with some ammo left in the late game here, able to fire at some high-value targets. So balance power is going to slowly start to grind against the Lizardmen here in this kind of late-game situation. But yeah, it was definitely a very, very good effort by the Lizardmen. It's an interesting matchup, I think. Potentially a tough one for the Lizardmen because of Ushabti Greatbows. You don't really have that many great answers for them. I'd be curious. I might try some different things of like direct counter-firing with 2 bow stegodons and maybe like using like the overlapping resistance buffs to really just mitigate their damage as much as possible. I don't know. There's some different things you could do. I'd be curious to see. Might have to try out this matchup a bit for myself, but definitely a very fun battle. You can see Cetra charges in for the final charge here, and with the SPHINX, and just with the, oh man, the Ushabti summon as well has been saved until this late game. That is just absolutely devastating. The balance of power was starting to creep back towards even as these Ushabti Greatbows did get, you know, involved in melee here. Cetra, of course, being very, very low, and this SPHINX of USEKPH is kind of getting out-dueled here a bit by Gore-Rok. He does need to sort of not stand and fight Gore-Rok one-on-one for too long, because Gore-Rok will be able to take him down. But of course the main drawback of infantry characters in general is this right here, right? You just walk in the other direction and they can't do a whole lot if you're faster than them, so a bit rough there. The Ushabti have managed to rout off the majority of the rest of these units as well, and the Ushabti are now going to start focus firing on Gore-Rok himself. Because their missiles count as artillery shots, they're not going to be subject to his missile block chance, and he will start to take some damage from them over time. And obviously Gore-Rok is an absolute Chad, being that the balance of power is still dead even, and it's just him alone fighting, right? He's got his Rokovitsa here, but that rear charge there with Cetra, the Summoned Ushabti, and the SPHINX of USEKPH, all just too much for Gore-Rok at this point, as he does, yeah. Actually, I guess it was in the Lizardmen's favor earlier anyway, but yeah. Very, very fun battle, super close, tight finish there, so just a handful of other plays could have potentially changed that. I think, you know, in hindsight, obviously being 2020, but using the Umbral Tide instead to actually go after infantry, I think might have been a little bit better here, you know, as counterintuitive as that might seem. Just in that initial phase there where they were able to get a few volleys, they were kind of focusing on the SPHINX of USEKPH. I almost wonder if they had unleashed those volleys against, like, these Tomb Guard, for example. Tomb Guard don't have a whole lot of armor, and the explosive damage of the Salamanders will actually do some pretty good damage to them, so maybe if he had been able to work through those Temple Guard a little bit, the Tomb Guard a little bit faster, he could have gotten back into those high-value targets and, you know, tied them down a little bit better. It's tough to say. Obviously, Felcon, Kjalanala, both very, very good players, so who am I to criticize? But big thanks for sending that one down. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching that one. I know I sure did. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like and subscribe. Click that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.